We told you about Ghana winning that tournament with the Black Stars. I mean, not the main Black Stars, the Black Stars Team B. And we won the West African Football Union Tournament. We'll call it the WAFU tournament. It took place at the Cape Coast Stadium, I mean, solely. And apparently, we were able to beat rivals Nigeria by 4-1. Just think about it. How did it all happen, etc.? Despite the criticism that constantly had been targeted at the president of the Ghana Football Association, Kwesi Nyantakyi. And we have Benedict, also a regular on the show, who is here to give us great analysis on the tournament, but also moving beyond the tournament. What does it mean for the local league, but also local football, and what really are the dreams of the Football Association boss, Kwesi Nyantakyi, and the rest of the football administrators in the country towards local football. But we'll have that conversation in a moment. Ghana won the West Africa Football Union Tournament. That's the WAFU tournament. And Ghana Black Stars Team B, I have to emphasize that, they beat Nigeria by 4-0. And I'm sure it will be the Super Eagles Team B as well. So, Benedict also is here, and it was 4-1 the victory was.
So the team is Black Stars B. It's made up of
Black Stars B.
Yeah,
that's
Black
what
Stars
we call
B.
it.
Yeah. All right. So it used to be local Black Stars, but we changed the name to Black Stars.
You were following that. You were following them throughout. What would you say will be your assessment? I watched that Nigerian game, a bit of it, not much of it. The first one that they lost 2-0. How would you rate their performance over time?
I think
since the beginning up to the end.
Yeah, I think it wasn't a bad tournament. Looking at how they started, you know, their first game in the prelims was against Gambia, which they managed to win by a goal to nil. Left it very, very late in that game. It was a penalty that gave us that all-important win to progress to the next stage of the competition. So the composition of the competition was this way. You finished the prelims, was made up of 16 teams, so we needed 8 teams to be grouped in 2 groups. So we have 4 in each group. So 16, then we played a knockout stage game in the first round. So what happened was, in our first game, which we actually struggled, and there was no hope after watching that game, especially when we really struggled in that game. So at that point, when we made it to the next stage of the competition, people were not too enthused about it.
Did we draw the first game?
The first game we nearly drew, but we won by a goal to nil. Because if you had drawn that
That's
game...
why they gave us that controversial penalty.
Exactly. So if you had drawn that game and gone to penalties, and probably maybe if you had not made it, then we wouldn't be talking about we winning the tournament yesterday. But so what happened was, coming from the team failing to, you know, qualify for the CHAN tournament and how badly they started, a lot more people were not even interested in following this competition. Because one, there's a team that could not make the CHAN tournament qualification, managed to, you know, play very well against Burkina Faso away, but failed to qualify at the Baba Stadium. And you go into a competition that you are hosting, you have the support of Ghanaians, and you start that way, then who should support you? But the team eventually, in the second round of the competition, that's when we started the group stages, started playing some good football. And obviously the coach took some advice that people gave him, both on radio and also on TV, and those that, you know, because some players that were very crucial that should have played in the first game were left on the bench. So he introduced some of these players, the likes of Mfo Kobna, the chap for Accra Hearts folks. So these guys played in the second game, which was the group stages when we started, and eventually we won our first group game. So it was after that people realized that, well, something can come out of this tournament for the Black Stars B, because if the first game didn't go well, the second game in the group stages they've been able to win convincingly, then we have to pay attention to this team. The second game, which was against Mali, and that was when they progressed to the next stage of the competition, because normally when you play in these group stages, when you are able to win your first 2 games, you automatically qualify to the next stage of the competition. So they won that game by a goal to nil. And for Kobna scored Istana in that game, and we progressed to the next stage. So even before we will play Nigeria in our last group game, we had already qualified. So when Ghana lost 2-0 to Nigeria, I was actually expecting that, because, you know, it's typical of every team. It happens everywhere. That normally when teams qualify and they are going into the next stage of the competition, they would want to rest their regular players for the semi-final.
And is that what we did?
Yes, that's exactly what the coach did. He decided to give some of the French players the opportunity to play in that game.
You call them French players?
Yes, French players, because they're on the bench. And
so ultimately we lost against Nigeria.
We lost against Nigeria.
We went ahead to meet Niger?
Yes, then we progressed to the semi-finals, which we defeated Niger.
Okay.
So after the
But
group
we
stage,
met, which team did we meet?
so it was Mali, we played Guinea, and then we played Nigeria.
And then Niger.
Yeah, and Niger.
And
Niger
then
was
back
in the
to
semi-finals,
Nigeria.
and we played Nigeria.
Okay.
So,
But the way the tournament went, the way the players played, and now you're telling me apparently we had almost 2 sets of players playing the tournament. Of course, they were the group team. Okay?
Yeah.
Now we had them, those starting and not doing too well, and changes made by
changes
Maxwell Kunedu, etc. Is there a reflection of football locally? I mean, at the top level?
well,
In terms of how strong we are, how good technically, tactically we are?
there are two ways to this argument. One is about how we organize our league and how we put together players for tournaments and competitions of this nature. Because if you look at how we played the CHAN tournament and how we were able to qualify, some of the players that played in the CHAN tournament were in this very team. At least 90% of the players that played in the CHAN tournament that we couldn't qualify.
They were?
Yes, they were in this very team. But the new additions, and it boils down to selection of players. We can always talk about how our league is not organized well, how players, in terms of talent, we have talent, but we are not able to put together a solid team for competitions. But when you go back and you sit down and you look at what happened in the CHAN qualifier and how the coach, with the help of the other technical members, managed to bring in certain players that I even thought that we had a lot more players that we could have even relied on, because these are not the best in the local league. There are other players.
So
yes,
as a sports journalist, you feel that these even were not the optimum
of course,
of the top players we have?
equally good players.
Mention some of them and let me see them for which teams.
There's an Indiana Stars player called Sashaku. He's a striker.
He's a very good?
Very, very well.
He's very good?
Very, very well. Mumuni is also an Indiana Stars player. He used to be at WAFU. He's also good. Unfortunately, some of our players too had to leave for other teams outside. But this very competition allowed us to bring players from outside to play. So let's say if Asamajan was available and could play, could have invited him. Players that were playing in the Premier League and left. In a CHAN tournament, you're not able to use players that travel because.
But the good thing is that this one we use solely local players.
Yeah, we use local players, but you can still use foreign players as well for this.
Yeah, true. We'll talk about that. But Redwan Ibrahim Asante, he had been following the tournament from Cape Coast and had been doing some moonlighting around the tournament. So Redwan, he's also with the multimedia group, with JoyNews, etc., and brings out great conversations around football and other sporting activities. Now, good morning to you, Redwan.
Good morning, Roland.
Right.
And the team.
you made some money, so some $100 for me won't be bad.
I made some money from where?
Oh, maybe you met some nice local player who was giving some dollars. So.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Well, you are trying to sound politically correct, but let's get on to the conversations. The way we played, the players that played. Was there a reflection of how football is in Ghana?
It will be very, very, silly on my part not to say it is, because if it had gone the other way, we definitely will be involved in a knuckle-gazing exercise to see what has gone wrong. So if we've won with panache and convincingly we've done that, I think it's only fair to attribute it to the rise of football or the improvement or the state of football being, positive to that win yesterday, and also climaxing the tournament itself. So I feel there is a direct correlation between your victory and your state of affairs. And so if you lose also, it's a sad commentary on the state of how things are done, because if we had lost by 4-1, guess what? It would have been a whole morning exercise. People would have been slated and graded, because we didn't select the best players, or the players were not, up to the standard, were below par, etc. So if they've won, I think it's only fair to attribute it to the state of our football, because yes, we always have talent. Although sometimes I think, it is not a true reflection, because there are days things can go wrong, or you can have a bad day in the office, and so I don't want to basically, put it down to it. If you play in a competition fully, like the Cup of Nations, whether WAFU or Africa, and you go all the way to win, then I think it's only fair to give credit to our football back home.
But there's always talk about how, well, even though we have great talent, we play good football, sometimes the development of the talent has become a problem because we don't have enough replicas to select the best from. So we have the talented few that we do the selection from. How do we correct that vis-a-vis us winning the tournament, and the argument doesn't become that, well, we won the tournament, so that's it. It means that football is good in Ghana.
No, even football is not good in England. Even football is not good, in Brazil, because they still want to develop. You can never reach that stage and say, you are that level. I mean, Spain were champions. They went to the World Cup and they got banded out at that early stage. So what could be the explanation? Is it that their league is not good? Is it that they don't have infrastructure? I think sometimes our analysis of the problems or issues are very extreme and do not really capture, what it says or what is wrong with our football. Nonetheless, infrastructure is a problem. Every coach has got his philosophy, and a coach might see a player, he doesn't see him to be part of his game plan, and it's always going to be different. I mean, it's like cars. You might be interested in a Nissan, and I might be interested in a Toyota. So it depends on what job is at stake. At the end of the day, we want to get there. So when a coach makes the decision or takes the decision to select some players, I think we just have to be relaxed a little bit and wait for the outcome. The end will justify the means. Maxwell didn't select some players we had wanted him to select, but then at the end of the whole kit and caboodle, he was able to lift the cap. So what is going to be your criticism of Maxwell Kumidu? I think sometimes we are too extreme and we just want to criticize for criticizing's sake. But let's wait until the job is done. You can select the best players in your team. We've seen France go to a major tournament like the World Cup when they had the highest scoring players or top scoring players for the league in France, in Germany, for the league in England, in Italy, and even in back home. I forget there was another league also that they had a top scorer there. But they went to the World Cup and then they flopped miserably.
Okay.
So sometimes I think we just have to take time and then wait for the outcome, because we're only going to judge a good coach after the tournament has ended.
All right. Redwan Ibrahim Asante with Joy Sports. Thanks for joining us. You're live from Cape Coast. And but you are telling me, so now there was this thing on social media and also, I believe, some gossip pages that apparently we had some players that were used from a particular team, and another one from a particular team were used to beef up the team, and then it got big. We're talking about Kumasi and Accra. So tell me about the story surrounding that kind of rumor.
You see, the thing is, Accra Hearts of Folk in a league
had how many players? Okay.
Yeah, Accra Hearts of Folk in this season's Premier League are doing very well, and some of their players are the reason why now people go to the stadium to watch hard games, like Wimfo Kobna. He's turned out to be one of the great players in the league.
You mean talented?
Yes, very talented player. And also, Patrick Razak. If you watch the game, the young man who came on and caused 2 penalties for Ghana, very, very swift on the ball. There's also a Kwame Kizito and also Thomas Abbey. Thomas Abbey is not a striker. He's a midfielder, an attacking player. But he scored 12 goals and assisted 4 in the Premier League. And he's a leading goal scorer. Kwame Kizito scores week in, week out. And Wimfo Kobna, as very, very talented.
They all play for Accra Hearts of Folk.
They all play for Accra Hearts of Folk. So you can imagine when you have these players in a team.
And they were on the bench initially.
It was Patrick Razak who was always coming on. But Wimfo Kobna, after the first game, when he was not playing, and people started talking about how Max Okunedi is not getting it right, putting a guy on the bench. That was when he introduced him in the second game. And we also saw how well he played. And playing Thomas Abbey, who week in, week out, scoring and doing very well for his club, Accra Hearts of Folk, which arguably the season has not even gotten to any. Probably maybe we have 4 more matches to end the season. But people are saying Thomas Abbey will definitely be the Premier League.
So
player
that's a
of the
controversy.
Season. So these players came in and delivered. Kumasi Asante Kotoko players. Amos Frimpong, solid player at right back. He's a captain of the team. does so well.
So those Kumasi and Tikotoko
I
players
forgot to add one Accra Tifo player, Vincent Atenga. The guy.
So the team is solely made of Accra Folk and Kumasi and
It's
Tikotoko?
not solely
Or a mixture of Wafa, Ediana?
Well, we have a Wafa player. We also have an Ediana Stars player.
No Wow Stars.
No Wow Stars.
Oh.
No Wow Stars.
That's the GFA president's team.
Well, it doesn't matter. But Stephen Safu, who emerged as the top scorer of the competition, is from Bekum, Chelsea. You know, the MVP, Chum, also another wonderful player. He's not an Accra Heartful player or a Satekotoko player. So it was a mixture of players from different teams, but I think both Hearts and Kotoko contributed so much
as a country, as football administrators and you as sports journalists. Can we take solace from the tournament and say, with this, we can use this as a stepping stone to leapfrog or increase the popularity of the league, but more so try to perhaps create a good vibe or good activation around the local football setup we have?
Of course we can.
How can we do that?
Especially when we had to put the league on break for this competition, and people were talking about how we've done this. Bodies, people were talking about how the league was going very well and we had to put the league on hold for this very competition, and now we've been able to do this and for the team winning. I think one, in terms of the players that we've seen in this competition, now people would want to go to the stadium a lot more to see the likes of Steven Safu for Chelsea. When Accra Heartfolk are playing their games, they know there are players like Wumfo Kobna, Patrick Razak that they can go and see. So one, it helps in terms of attracting people to the game, going to the stadium. So now these players have gotten the name and people have seen them because the match was on TV. And one thing you should also know is that the WAFU coverage was exceptional, was phenomenal.
Yes, I hear it was done by Fox.
Yeah, Fox
Sports.
Yeah, Fox Sports.
Which one? The one based in the US?
Based in the US. They have a contract with WAFU. Nyantichi is the president of WAFU, so he signed a 12-year contract with WAFU, and they actually organized this very competition. And looking at how well they covered this competition, now people out there got the opportunity.
It was on go.com.
It was on go.com. Was
ESPN.
It was everywhere. People got the opportunity to watch this game. And one thing that also help our players is that their market value goes up. So if you are a crowd folk player that you played very well, if you're a player in a team that you did very well, obviously you get
what was the goal king or the best scorer?
It was Steven Safu. He scored 4 goals.
So we have an interview with Steven Safu, and we have that soundbite. Please do take a watch. When we come back, we'll wrap up the conversation.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very, very happy to win by man of the match this evening. And was it because of the crowd push? Yeah, we want to win the match for the country and the club here. You know that the president of CAF, Ahmad is here with his entire executive committee. Was it an extra motivation for you guys? Yeah, we motivate ourselves. Yeah, I can say that.
So Steven Safu there, and he was a great guy.
Yeah,
very talented.
Yeah,
I didn't watch much of the tournament, really. I have to be, because I kind of didn't believe in local football. When I'll be going to the stadium.
No, you have to. Because these players have shown.
I'll go and watch the matches on YouTube when I can.
Yes, these players have shown that we have quality here on the local scene. Yes, we do have quality. The players have shown, and that going forward it will help our league. Now, that's why I said that people would now want to go to the stadium and see more of the league matches, because there is a Steven Safu who emerged as top scorer of the team and is playing for Bekum, Chelsea, and Chelsea.
This guy's name, that Patrick guy, he's called
Patrick Razak.
Yeah, his name fascinates me.
Yeah, very.
It's both a Christian name and
and he is a Heartfolk player. Recently, there was a story about how Asante Kotoko wanted to, capture him. You remember the Chastela issue that happened in the early 2000s when Hearts Kotoko were all jostling for the player. It's the same thing that is happening with these players. Wumfo Kobna, after his impressive performance in our game against Mali, Kumasi Asante Kotoko Twitter handle posted that word. Although we are the other side, we congratulate you. You are one of the best players on the local scene. And some people, mistakenly took it that Asante Kotoko wants the player. Well, that's what the Heartfolk people said. So they want the Heartfolk player. So people want to go to the stadium.
I also kept getting rumors that Kenya, because they've been stripped of the right to host the CHAN tournament, that's the Championship of African Nations, Ghana could be roped in.
Of course. What happens is, if you bid and you get a hosting rights, you automatically qualify and you play in the competition. So if the government of Ghana will be interested and bid for the competition, and I think that's one thing we should also look at, because these boys have shown and have done something in terms of this WAFU.
And we have not qualified for CHAN.
That's where we failed to qualify. So if we go in,
so now we're putting pressure on the Kufuor-Addo-led government.
Yeah, if we go in and
to help GFA.
Yeah, of course. It's not even about helping GFA. It's about governments. If we go in and bid and we win the hosting rights, Ghana automatically qualifies, and these players, based on what they've shown, because 16 teams played in this competition, and if they're able to come top and win, well, qualifiers and other games.
But in CHAN, we're going to have Southern African teams.
We're having Southern African
Eastern
teams,
Africa.
Eastern Northern African teams as well.
TP Mazembe will be.
No, not TP Mazembe. These are national, the country. So, but if they were able to play against all these teams, because Nigeria will be there, the other player teams, Niger and all.
So virtually we almost have.
Yeah, so we have
the bulk of the CHAN tournament teams in there.
Because they've tested this competition, they've played against these sides. So if they're able to go in there in a CHAN championship,
is this just not a subtle way to cement or to ward off the criticism that Kwesi Nyantakyi seems to receive all the time?
It's not even about Kwesi Nyantakyi, but it's about the coach Maxwell Konedo, because people say that he's failed for the second time running to qualify for the team, because in Rwanda we couldn't qualify, and also in the last the Kenya one that they've been stripped of the hosting rights, we also couldn't qualify. So if we should get the hosting of that competition, which I entreat the government to actually go in.
You entreat?
Yes, of course.
Benedict Owusu, thanks for your time this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we've enjoyed Benedict Owusu's conversation, and the contribution also for this conversation by Redwan Ibrahim Asante, all of Joy Sports.